Hello, welcome to another video by George's Shed, and in today's video on C# Basics Fast, we're going to be learning how to create a Windows Forms application. So in the previous tutorials, we've sort of been looking at console, more simple ones. So I'm going to make this video to show how you can create a Windows Form application, which is probably more what you think about when you think of a computer app. So in today's episode we're going to be looking at creating this. So this is an odd-even calculator, and it's got three main parts that we're going to look at today. So we're going to enter a number, so for example 5. We're going to press calculate and it tells us that 5 is odd. To prove that it does actually work, we'll put in 6 and it tells us it's even. And finally, to show usability, if you don't put anything in that, it'll tell you to enter a number. So we'll close that and then we'll begin. So this is Visual Studio 2017. So we're going to create a new Windows Form app. So before we've been creating a new console app. So here we are going to create a Windows Form app. So you can also click Create New Project and you'll get this list, or you should do anyway. Windows Forms app. So we're going to click on that and then we're going to save it in a suitable location. And then we're going to press OK, and that is going to load up our form. So now you'll notice that we're greeted with a slightly different screen to what we're used to so far. And this is the form, so this is called the designer, and this is where you can actually design what your form looks like. So you'll notice that this is resizable, so you can resize this to however big or small you want it. So because there's not much on it, we're going to make it quite small. And you may think, how do we access the code then? Well, you can right click on the form and then you can press view code or F7 and that'll bring up the code. So we've got this public form one and initialize component pre-built in. And that basically means initialize component means load this form. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to add in the elements that we want. So now what we're going to have to do is click on Toolbox, and there's this list of all these wonderful things we can add. So we're going to start off with a label. So we're going to drag and drop that, and then it places a label. So you may notice this box down here called Properties, and this is going to come in quite handy for making things how we want it. So we've got this text field here, so first of all we're going to change that to say, please enter a number to check. So as you can see, that is now updated, and you can also change the name of the label. So here we've got label 1, but we could change that to whatever we want. I'm going to leave it as label 1 because that makes sense as is. We then need to be able to enter our data, so we're going to now add a text box. So this allows the user to input some information, so I'm going to make it a bit smaller. So this is going to be text box 1, that's the name. I'm going to change this name just to show you can change it to number box. And that has changed. And then we're going to leave that blank because we don't need to put any information in it. And finally, we're going to add a button, which is going to be our calculate button. So we're going to throw that in next to it. And I'm going to change the name again to calculate. And we're going to change the text to be calculate as well. So there we go. You'll notice that already quite quickly we've made something that looks like it can function, but we haven't put any code in, so if we ran this, nothing would happen. So first of all, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to get the information that the user types in into the program. And the way that we're going to input the information is by using the button. Once they've typed in the number and they press calculate, we then want to check it. So the way to get the button, to find out if the button's been pressed, is to click on the button and then double click. and it should add in this part here that's called calculate underscore click. So calculate is the name of the button, and then click means it's been clicked. So we're going to need some sort of number. So at the top of the program, I'm going to create an integer called number. And then in our private void for the button click, we now need to read in what's in the text box. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to get number, and we're going to set that equal to number box. Okay, so you may realise that because we've sent the number to an integer, which means it's a number, and the text box on its own is going to read it in. So sorry, to read it in you need to put a numberbox.text. Like that. But as you can see, it's telling us that we can't convert string to an integer directly. So we're going to use something called int.parse. And then we're going to put that in brackets. And int.parse converts the string to a number. So that's all well and good. We've now read it in. So we're now going to check if the number is odd or even. So we're going to use an if statement, which we've learnt previously, and we're going to type in what our number is. So if our number, and then we're going to use something called modulo, sorry. So that's the percent sign, and we're going to do modulo 2. So what that basically does is it divides it by 2 and then leaves out if there's a remainder or not. So if that's equal to 0, it means there's no remainder. So if there's no remainder, then it must be an even number. So we're now going to put our label, was that just label 1? Yeah. And we're going to set the text of that to number is even. Fairly straightforward. And then our other case, we're going to use something called an else if, which just means if the first one wasn't the case, try this one. So we're going to see if the number is not equal to 0. And then we're going to do exactly the same. Just like that. So now if we test the program, this should work. So here is our lovely program. So we'll type in 5, which is obviously an odd number, calculate, and it says number is odd, which is correct. If we now type in 6, it says number is even. Excellent. But now if the user doesn't type in a number by mistake, and types in a letter, it's going to crash because the int.parse isn't going to be able to parse it, which causes the program to crash. So now we're going to use something called try. And we're going to put our program in the try. And then we're going to put catch. And then we're going to put label1.text is equal to enter a number. Oh, it'd help if I could spell label as well. So now, if the int.parse crashes or doesn't work, then it'll break out of the try and go to the catch. The reason I've put all of the code in the try is because if we only put the int.parse in the try, then if that didn't work, then it would break out the try, but then it would still run the if, so it would just check the number that was already in prior to that. So we want it to not do the things after it if that crashes, which is why it's all in there. So finally, let's press start, and we'll try the letters, and then it says enter a number. Excellent. So the last step to make it a bit more official is, instead of form 1, we're going to go back to the designer, and we're going to go to we're going to go to text, and we're going to change that to George's odd even calculator. Like that. And then if we run that once again, just make it a bit bigger so it'll fit in. There we go. So that's the end of today's tutorial. If you found this tutorial useful, then please make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss any future content.